Holly, a beautiful woman, managed to take a close-up photo of a celebrity without anyone noticing. Unfortunately, a security guard spotted her, leading to Holly's immediate capture. Before this strange phenomenon occurred, young Holly appeared like any other teenager. During breakfast, her sister Vanessa and her brother Troy were so engrossed in their conversation that they forgot to hand Holly a plate of food. Even their father began eating, despite Holly's plate being empty. Seeing that Holly hadn't taken any food, her mother handed her a plate, which lifted Holly's spirits. One day, Holly's mother gave her a kaleidoscope toy that could display unique images when turned. However, this happiness began to fade when her mother fell ill and passed away, leaving Holly forever. Holly started to fade, and her presence went unnoticed. Her siblings even erased the chalkboard in her room. During dinner, her father only inquired about Vanessa and Troy, prompting Holly to ask to be noticed. Even in class, the teacher ignored her questions. The next day, Holly disappeared completely from the world as if she had never been born. She tried to speak to her father, but there was no response, and her siblings, Troy and Vanessa, showed the same indifference. During a family photo session, Holly realized she wasn't in the picture. Initially, she thought it was a joke, but she finally accepted it after seeing that her room had been turned into a storage space. Several years later, Holly adapted to her new life. She lived in an apartment where she didn't have to interact with her neighbors, and she requested that couriers leave packages at her door without ringing the bell multiple times. To earn a living, Holly worked as a paparazzi, sending photos of scandals, most of which involved celebrities' infidelity. One night, she received an info that a celebrity was at an entertainment venue, so Holly headed there by bus. She entered behind other passengers without being seen by the driver or the other passengers. She sat down, waiting to catch her target, Bobby, in the act of wrongdoing. Finally, after growing bored of waiting, Holly caught Bobby cheating with an escort in another room and quickly snapped a photo. She sent the photo to a newspaper producer the next day, leading to Bobby being featured on the front page due to his infidelity being exposed. In her routine as an invisible paparazzi, Holly regularly visited her family to check on them. Her father was still involved in the real estate business. Vanessa had a husband, while Troy, now unemployed, spent his time making videos from the basement, filming various women's feet as they passed by. Although Holly found being invisible advantageous, she sometimes felt lonely because she couldn't interact directly with anyone. One night, while following another celebrity at an entertainment venue, a security guard named Shane unexpectedly noticed her. Holly didn't respond when Shane called out to her and was shocked when he grabbed her arm to escort her out. Thinking that her time of invisibility had ended, Holly tested this with other people, but the result remained the same. The next day, excitedly, she confided in her mother that there was a man who could see and hear her. When she returned home, Holly realized that the security guard who could see her was one of her previous victims. She quickly gathered information about him and discovered that Shane was a former world champion in mixed martial arts, whose career had started to crumble after his infidelity photos went viral. His girlfriend, a supermodel named Juliana, had to leave him. The following night, Holly met with Shane and confessed that she was the one who took the photos. Shane, upon hearing her confession, became angry and asked Holly to stay away from him. However, Holly said she wanted to make amends by helping Shane rebuild his career, which Shane found amusing. Despite being asked to leave, Holly followed Shane as he discussed a potential deal with his manager. Shane asked if his manager saw someone sitting at the table, but the manager saw no one. When Shane was offered $800 for participating in a fight, Holly noticed that the original offer was $1,500 and told Shane. Shane, surprised, tried to negotiate a higher price and was astonished when his manager agreed. After the deal was done, Shane left, and Holly explained that no one could see her except him. Since the previous evidence hadn't convinced Shane, Holly walked into the street and stood in front of a moving car. Shane quickly asked the driver to warn Holly, but the driver called him crazy because there was no one beside him. Confused by the incident, Shane decided to go home and asked Holly to come to his apartment the next day to discuss everything. The next morning, Holly arrived at Shane's apartment, and even Shane's dog couldn't see her. Continuing their conversation from the previous night, Holly told Shane that she could fix the career she had ruined. After Shane shared his childhood experiences, he invited Holly to watch one of his non-professional fights. Despite winning, Holly felt sorry because he only earned $300. Holly suggested finding him a match at the professional level, but Shane was pessimistic, since he no longer had a name and believed no one would want to fight him. Returning to her apartment, Holly researched professional fighters to find one for Shane. She chose a fighter named Suarez, who had once been reported for using banned steroids. The next morning, Holly broke into Suarez's house and photographed the steroids to force him into fighting Shane. After succeeding, Holly went to Shane. Before she could say anything about Suarez, Shane asked when Holly became invisible to others, leading to them becoming closer. Afterward, Shane received a call from his manager, informing him that in 6 weeks, Suarez was willing to fight him. Shane was thrilled and curious about how Holly had arranged it, but Holly asked him to focus on training while she took care of the match. News began to spread about Shane, the former champion returning to professional fighting after a 5-year hiatus. Many believed Shane would lose, but Shane ignored the rumors and focused on training, accompanied by Holly. During that time, Holly told Shane that she couldn't watch the fight in person because she had been injured in a crowd before. A few days later, when the fight arrived, Holly headed to her apartment to watch it on TV. While watching, the fight between Shane and Suarez was intense, with both exchanging blows. However, before the final round ended, Shane managed to lock Suarez in a submission hold, forcing Suarez to tap out. As Shane returned to his apartment, he was interviewed by a prominent newspaper, and one reporter asked why he wasn't having a victory party. Shane simply replied that the party would be a small gathering at his apartment, which piqued the reporter's curiosity. Holly, who was already waiting for Shane, was then invited to the rooftop, bringing a mat and some snacks. Under the moonlight, Shane asked if Holly was just his imagination, which offended Holly. Shane immediately apologized and kissed her. At that moment, the reporter from earlier appeared and took a photo of them, then quickly fled when Shane chased after him. Holly asked Shane to remain calm, assuring him that her image wouldn't appear in the photo. However, Shane was more concerned about his door, which couldn't be opened from the outside, forcing them to spend the night on the rooftop. In that moment, for the first time, Holly was embraced by a man, which then led to an intimate encounter. The next morning, when Holly returned home, she was shocked to see a news article about Shane kissing someone, as her image appeared in the photo, albeit as a faint shadow. A few weeks later, Shane prepared for his second match against a formidable fighter named Tommy. When reporters asked about the woman he was kissing, Shane chose not to comment. Afterward, Holly snuck into Tommy's car to blackmail him into losing the fight against Shane. Holly threatened to expose Tommy's illicit activities if he didn't comply. That night, Holly met with Shane and discussed her appearance in the photo, which made them both happy. However, their time together was interrupted when Juliana called Shane to congratulate him on his victory. A few days later, the fight between Shane and Tommy took place, and Tommy signaled to Shane that he would throw the match. The public was shocked when Shane won the fight, further boosting his reputation. Afterward, Holly sent information to a producer about Shane's upcoming match against the current #1 fighter, Attila. Holly broke into Attila's home to find dirt on him that could be used to secure Shane's victory through deceit. However, she found nothing and decided to leave. At that moment, she received information that Juliana was on a date with another man at a venue. To maintain her income, Holly quickly went there and was shocked to find that Shane was the man Juliana was dating. Shane was also surprised, and Juliana asked Shane who he was talking to. Without taking a photo, Holly walked away, with Shane chasing after her. Holly questioned the meaning of their previous encounter and said that Juliana was only interested in Shane because he was becoming famous again. Shane reluctantly explained that he didn't want to be seen as crazy by others for being involved with a woman who was invisible. Stunned by his words, Holly then admitted that she hadn't found any dirt on Attila, which made Shane realize that his recent victories had been due to cheating. This enraged Shane, who asked Holly to leave him while sarcastically suggesting she continue finding others' faults. In the following days, Holly's routine returned to its previous state as a paparazzi. However, as days went by, she began to feel that what she was doing was wrong. Meanwhile, Shane rekindled his relationship with Juliana, which broke Holly's heart even more, leading her to lock herself in her apartment and drink heavily. Unexpectedly, Shane visited her and confessed that the photo Holly took of him cheating on Juliana wasn't the main reason for his career and love life falling apart. Instead, it was his own arrogance that led to his downfall. He admitted that he had become lazy and complacent at the peak of his career. As for the infidelity, Juliana had also been unfaithful, so they mutually agreed to part ways. Hearing this, Holly was devastated, and Shane tried to comfort her. However, Holly, still hurt, pushed him away and asked him to leave. Before leaving, Shane expressed his hope that Holly would come to his next fight. After Shane left, Holly, in a fit of anger, smashed the kaleidoscope her mother had given her into pieces. The next morning, Holly realized that she could no longer see her reflection and had completely disappeared. To confirm this, she went to Shane's training session, but her worst fear was confirmed. Shane could no longer see or hear her. Feeling lost and angry, Holly wandered aimlessly, questioning why her mother had promised to always be there for her. A while later, Holly visited her siblings and father to say goodbye, believing that she would soon disappear forever. While following her father, she noticed that he still hadn't fully moved on from her mother's passing, which made Holly smile. Before leaving, Holly apologized for her negative thoughts in the past, and to her surprise, her father seemed to sense someone's presence beside him. As she walked, she remembered that Shane had a match that evening. Although Holly had vowed never to go near a crowd again, she decided to push herself to support Shane up close. The fight between Shane and Attila began, with Shane taking a lot of hits and kicks. To make matters worse, Juliana, who was supposed to be cheering for Shane from the sidelines, was more focused on her fans. Holly, who had already made her way there, entered the arena to encourage Shane, who was struggling. Unfortunately, Shane couldn't see Holly. However, when Holly sincerely held his hand and offered words of encouragement, Shane suddenly saw her. In fact, everyone in the arena could see her, which meant that Holly's invisibility curse had been broken. Holly was in shock as the referee grabbed her arm to escort her out of the ring. Meanwhile, Shane, inspired by Holly's support, started to fight back against Attila. Just as Shane had Attila in a submission hold, the round ended, and Shane lost due to a points decision. Before chasing after Holly outside, Shane broke up with Juliana. Juliana, unperturbed, quickly found a new partner. Shane asked the referee to release Holly and thanked her for being there, saying her presence meant the world to him. They then started dating after Shane told Holly that he had ended things with Juliana. The next day, Holly visited her father, who was loading things into his car. Her father was momentarily confused by the girl standing in front of him, but then he started to remember. He realized that the girl was his daughter, Holly. The film ends with the two embracing each other. If you like this video, don't forget to subscribe, because by subscribing you have supported me to make better videos. See you in the next video.